Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
All right. Welcome to our presidential candidate series of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast. We're here with Paulie Steinman. I guess we'll start off. Paulie, welcome.
Thanks.
Great beard.
It takes work, man. Everything good takes work. But thank you for hosting this, and thank you for inviting me. Obviously, I've declared my candidacy for president, so I think it's a good juncture here.
So we'll kind of start off, just if you want to talk a little bit about yourself, your background, what inspired you to run for president, what your qualifications are, experiences, what makes you the best candidate, I guess, in your own words.
All of that right now?
All of that right now. That's question one.
All right. Well, first, my name is Paulie Steinman. I started as an enthusiastic member of USA Powerlifting, just as another grassroots powerlifter. And very shortly thereafter, I fell in love with the sport so completely that I opened my own powerlifting gym. And that's a little over 15 years ago now. And then I began coaching and bringing my members to competitions, and I found that at meets I would show up early and stay late to help the meet directors with set up and tear down. And again, looking at what the needs were and how I could kind of be a part of this community, I started running meets in Brooklyn when there were no meets in Brooklyn, New York at that time, and just kind of filling a gap. At some point thereafter, I don't remember when, that I became state chair or co-state chair. I became a state referee, and just finding all the different ways I could stay involved with the sport. And then I volunteered to help coach national teams. I always wanted more. I always wanted to be around the sport. Persistence and my presence was noticed by leadership, and I was asked to submit a resume for a Raw national team coach position, and I was selected as the Masters national head coach, and I held that position for 5 years. Probably around that time, I was also asked to run for the executive committee, and I was elected in 2016, and I've been serving on the USA Powerlifting Executive Committee since then. And in other things, I'm now a Cat 1 referee, and I've been fortunate that I've been able to referee literally across and around the globe, depending on if you believe the earth is flat or round. Either way, I've been able to referee in a lot of cool locations and just have that experience. I said this recently to somebody that, and now as a Cat 1 referee, I spend less time in the chair and I'm spending more time on the jury. But I even think about being on the jury as being an ambassador for the sport, because that's when people will come to you with, like, at their most agitated, and it's where you have to have the most presence to be able to solve their immediate problem, and have them not necessarily try to take a swing at you. So that's who I am.
So second question, I guess, can you talk a little bit about Brother Bennett's philosophy on drug-free powerlifting and how it fits in today's powerlifting world?
Sure. Obviously, like, I've never met Brother Bennett in person. I have not been around powerlifting that long, but I'm fortunate in that, serving on the executive committee and knowing Dr. Larry Maley, I've been able to have many conversations with him about Brother Bennett and who the man was and what he stood for. One of my big takeaways is that his message for a fair drug-free platform, or I'd say actually for a fair drug-tested platform, is the exact same, and we're fighting the same battles history has a way of repeating itself, and it has from when steroid use was rampant and it was unchecked, and at a certain point it wasn't even an issue for people. That's just the way they did things. And that was one of the differentiators. Another interesting thing is that Brother Bennett, as far as equality for all, the first ADFPA championship was actually the women's championship, and in that the women were even more affected than the men. The men didn't care as much. Men were taking steroids and so on and so forth, and everybody was doing it. Again, it was the culture. The women were having a harder time with it and kind of standing out. So that was, so to me, there's that continued message of inclusion and kind of getting everybody onto the platform and then giving them that opportunity to compete on a platform that is drug tested. I mean, that's the start of it. I mean, there is a bunch more, but I'll pause there and give you a chance to, or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. So, I guess on that note, USA Powerlifting drug tests 10% at every competition. I think we're unique in that aspect. Is that something that you believe in, or is that something that you would, potentially look for an alternative?
I think we need to keep that, and I think that a lot of people, again, don't even understand how we got to 10% or why we got to 10%. Initially, funny enough, basically people just would have to sign an affidavit saying that they were drug free, and then the next thing was polygraph tests. And that actually scared more people away, because you could fail a polygraph test for many other reasons, other than kind of lying, right? And so that was not right. And so from the way I understand it, the number was much lower to start, and it was slowly increased to 10%, where it was found that 10% was the right balance to kind of be a deterrent in and out of competition. So it's enough to say, if it was 3% or 2% or 1%, I think people would look at that and say, hey, my odds of getting caught are really, really low. I'm gonna see if I can cheat here. And 10% became the right balance of economy and also deterrence as far as drug testing goes. And I think so that is something that I would not waver from.
Cool. All right. So next question, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing USA Powerlifting today, and how would you address them if elected?
Well, I think the most important thing is that we need to see things as they are rather than what we want them to be. And I think we have sometimes our head is in the cloud, and I say us, it's like people on the executive, people who are pushing change, and we don't accept the reality of our situation. So the first step is just to get everybody aligned and just say, hey, this is where we are. This is what we're about. I think one of the immediate concerns is our membership is down right now, and there is this kind of, there are tides to our membership. So there, over the years, there's kind of been a waxing and a waning of our membership, but right now, we're seeing increased competition from other federations. I believe that the split with the IPF hurt us in certain ways. Like I don't like I fully support our split with the IPF, but one of the things one of the ways that it affected us, and it still kind of affects us a little bit because we haven't come up with the right solution yet, is that we were the only fish in the only pond. And so if anybody wanted to, we're the biggest federation, and if anybody wanted to go to the IPF, we were the gateway. And so that part has been taken away from us. And we have looked at different stopgaps. this is nothing against you. I hope you don't hate me, Josh, but the Pro Series is has been a very bumpy ride,
All
and
right, this interview is over. No, I'm just kidding.
I knew it. I knew it. But listen, I'm being honest, man.
Agreed. I agree with you.
Yeah, and it's been a bumpy ride. But I think that there's been a lot of lessons from that. One of the lessons is it's like so there the complaints that I see across the board is that, hey, our lifters took the money and ran. But I don't blame them. I don't blame them. We didn't have a contract that said that, we're gonna pay you this money for the Pro Series and you have to stay here. We didn't do our jobs. We didn't do our job as a federation to give them a reason to stay here. Because at the end of the day, our elite lifters wanted prestige. And they saw competing in the IPF the only way for them to achieve that prestige. So it's on us as USA Powerlifting as an organization to give that to our elite lifters and give them a reason to stay. But to, and again, maybe now the elite lifters will be angry at me, but it's not just about the elite lifters. They make up a small portion of our membership, but it's about we need to look at our membership as a whole. And so, something I think about a lot is our day one members. Think about like what brings a member to USA Powerlifting on day one, and it's not, very few come in and say I want to be an elite member. As a local meet director, and I think I've been doing this now for 10, 11 years now, and like what I see is that, hey, we just thought it would be fun. We were doing it for our health. We were doing it just because, someone else was doing it, or coach said that this is what we're doing next, and we trust and we believe in coach for many other reasons than to go and compete at worlds. And so we need to focus on that as well. We need to kind of, I think, something I've been thinking about is that the health related benefits of strength training, and that keeps growing. And so, creating more health initiatives for people to get involved in powerlifting and compete. It's always been a disparity to me to see how many people will willingly run a marathon, which is something I'll never be able to get my head around. But they won't do a 4 hour meet, or they won't do a competition and so on and so forth, which I think, a powerlifting competition, at least in from where I sit, is a lot less painful than running a marathon.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a runner.
I think that's
So
why we're
you,
powerlifters.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, you're kind of rolling in a little bit to the next question, like with the experience and stuff. So I guess like, question number 4, how do you plan to grow the sport and improve the experience for both new and veteran lifters at all levels, local, national, and international? I mean, you talked about like the health benefits and things like that. But what about, just broad strokes? What do you see there?
I mean, there's first we have to make our competitions, because we think about why somebody becomes a member of USA Powerlifting. And I think we have to give more people more reasons to be a member of USA Powerlifting. Because at the end of the day, we're a membership, at this point at least, we're a membership driven organization, right? We live and die on our membership numbers, and that's why they become so important. But if we can give people more reason to join, and that could be with, like I said, maybe we're teaming up with a major health provider, or we're able to get more benefits, like more like useful benefits to our athletes. I know that we've run some benefit programs in the past, but I didn't think that we went far enough with it. So that comes to strategic partnerships, because with our numbers we have a little bit of buying power. So then we can give back to our members that way and give them more reason to join. We need to, have more meets be more accessible to people, have people understand how to compete. And so that goes back to, a grassroots program of going to gyms. And, I know this is close to your heart, and it's close to my heart because I was on the coaching committee with you for years, but getting in-person connections with potential members and our members. So building up our coaching program, teaching more people how to reach meets, and just, honestly, just more boots on the ground. just more connection at the local level, because that will build everybody up from there. And then, there's another thing that's important to me is then giving people the proper pathway. And I've worked hard on this for my time, um, you know, on the EC. So, having this logical progression and different ways of competing, so we can go from local to state to regional to national and to even international now. And I'm the guy who restarted regionals in a way back in 2016, and now it's become like an integral part of competition. And the idea of regionals has always been a national meet that's more accessible at a more local level. So it kind of bridges the gap. And now, now we talk about the IDFPA, and that is something that's very, very nascent, but it is growing slowly. And the idea is to then now give people an opportunity to compete internationally if they want to. So essentially just kind of broaden our base, broaden our appeal to more people, among other things. There's other stuff with just, being more clear and transparent with our communication, and just doing more outreach. Let me know when you want to get to social media, because that can be its own 30 minutes as we talk about how that hasn't worked, and what we can do to make things work. You know uh there's a lot. And look, at the end of the day, I want to make all of this fun. I don't want this to be heavy on somebody, just the bar on their back.
Okay. So next question. USA Powerlifting has faced various controversies, challenges, and policy changes over the years. How would you address those items? And I guess you can even, well, I'll leave it open-ended. You can talk about it however you want there.
Yeah, no, we like, I don't know, but I feel like we really have been, through the ringer. And for better or for worse, I've been on the front line for many of those controversies. I've not been the initiator, the instigator. I've just been, some of them just on the receiving end of things, being, and just having to kind of help the organization navigate, these challenges. I think collectively, because I've thought about this, is that, you know, I believe we could have been more, um, proactive, more clear, more decisive, just overall, just more prepared, and we weren't. And so a lot of this stuff, unfortunately, the executive committee can often get mired in bureaucracy, and that slows things down. We don't have a standard, response to certain things. We're not, in other ways, the organization, because of its, um, explosive growth that it's gone through. Some like, and I'd say, like, I maybe think about it more like explosive growth spurts, right? It's not a steady growth, but we'll grow a big chunk, and then we become a target. Sentiment in the world changes, and we become a target. We have to, stick by our kind of our code, um, and we become a target. And I think that the biggest thing that's hurt us is that, like, either slow reaction time, um, poor reaction, poor messaging, poor connection with the members, in having them understand what we're up against and what we're doing. And I think that's inexcusable. And I think those are things that I would immediately work to change, or just from day one, is to create those connections so everybody knows what's going on. There's no secrets. And I think the reason why it's perceived that they're secrets is because we just did a terrible job of connecting with everybody, and then also addressing the situation. We've come out of many and most of these situations, um, in the best possible way, but I mean, there's only so many beatings that we can take, and we need to do a better job of being ready.
Okay. So if you are elected as USA Powerlifting's next president, what would success look like at the end of your first term? What accomplishments do you hope to achieve?
I would say, like, I notice right now that different groups in the organization are starting to splinter. And so one of the important things for me would be a unified organization, Like we're all like we have a clear mission statement. We're all kind of moving in the same direction, and like essentially a galvanized and a unified organization from top to bottom. Everybody who comes into the organization from, again, from our day one members to our OGs that have been with us for 30, 40 years, everybody feels the same. Look, we can have our individual differences, but we understand what our organization is about. And I don't think that we have that right now. And I'd like to see that change. I'd love to see, like, a term is 3 years. And so if you're talking about the end of a term, I'd like to see a powerlifting community that is 50,000 members strong. And maybe that's a big reach, but if we do it right, it in a certain way it comes back to sales and marketing, and we do almost none of that. So to be able to be where we are just by essentially word of mouth, there's incredible potential for growth if we actually start doing things with a plan and doing things right. The last thing is I want to see our retention rates go way up. We're holding our members for much longer, and essentially we're taking on new members at a greater rate than we are losing members, and we're holding on to our members for a much longer period of time. We should get to a point where there should be no real reason for a member to quit their membership because they love our organization so much they just want to stay on and support it. So those are kind of very broad things, but I think those are some of the key performance indicators that I look at. And there's a lot that needs to be done to get there, but I mean that's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah. I have a hypothetical for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you are competing at the IDFPA World Championships. You're in third place. Your third deadlift is to move into first. What song is playing in your headphones?
Hmm. Um, Funny enough, the first thing that comes to mind is Born Slippy.
What the hell is that?
It's by Underworld. It was from Train Spotting. I'm old.
None of those words. Well, I know what Underworld is. I made a connection there. Okay,
The band Underworld, the
got it.
group.
Oh,
Yeah.
then I don't know. Isn't Underworld a movie?
Yes, it's a movie, but
Okay,
okay. Now you're embarrassing me. But yeah,
I'm sorry.
I don't know. Should I say some kind of 80s power ballad? But that's
That would tickle my fancy, but this is your choice.
uh uh I don't know, maybe Margaritaville? Is
Gotcha. Okay.
is that a
I
power
said
ballad for you?
it's no, it's all right. It's fine. Uh, I'll forever judge you based on that question, though.
Well, listen, you
Uh,
were judging me before this, so
yeah. No,
that's okay.
I had to throw that in there as this podcast also has a music component, so we had to throw that in there a little bit.
That's fine, but that was a 90s kind of, I don't know. That was a that was my time. Look, I grew up in the
Yeah.
80s too, but
Yeah. No, it's all good.
yeah, thanks, Josh.
Yeah. Circling back, we'll get back on task here.
All right.
I guess, is there anything that, floor is yours at this point? Is there anything that you want, I guess, closing arguments? Why should somebody vote for you? Sell me on you right now.
Well, I've said this. I said this in my initial, in my pledge. Like I am positioned for this right now. Like all of my
How
experience that
so?
I outlined.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, no, it's like all of the things that I've done, everything that I've done has led to this moment. All like my years in doing all the different things in powerlifting have led me to kind of be in this position. Being so, as an example, like I've been a member of the executive committee since 2016. I had to be elected to that position, and so enough people thought I was doing something right, and I think some people would see being on the inside as a detriment, but I see this as an opportunity to take on an unprecedented transition with minimal disruption and a maximal understanding of what needs to be done. Like, I get it. And look, without displaying bias, my character, and like that I'm not afraid to say what's on my mind, and I'm not afraid to speak truth to power and kind of go up against the establishment if I firmly believe in something. And like, I think that has been demonstrated for a long time. And for now, so it's, in a sense, it's just kind of like, this is the next level for me. And people know me. I've been doing this. Like, again, something else we have to remember. This is unprecedented because Dr. Larry Melly has been president since 2003. This is going to be a major shift. And what I think is that we need to make big changes, but we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I feel like if someone comes in, they don't fully understand what USA Powerlifting is from the inside. They don't have a good working relationship with everybody in the national office. They're not connected with all of our volunteers across this country. Then I don't think that they're going to be the right person for this job. And I am that person. I spend a lot of time out at competitions. I put a lot of my heart and soul as an unpaid volunteer into the executive committee. I stand up for what I believe in, and I'm wholly passionate about this sport and this organization.
I think that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions for me?
What's your song, Josh?
Well, time's up. All right. So thank you for joining. So do you have any, I guess, place people can go to learn more about you, or can they reach out to you directly with questions if they have questions? If so, where are those resources, or how can they contact you?
Easiest way, if you want to put this on here, I'm just giving my direct email. And for transparency, don't reach out to me through USA Powerlifting. I need to keep that separate. So you can, and Josh, you can probably put this up, but it's just Paulie at southbrooklynwc.com, or DM me on Instagram, and I would be happy to take time, have a chat with you. I actually can send you a link, or anybody reaches out to me, I can send them a link to my calendar. And we can book a 20-minute call and share, because I love listening to stories. I love listening to what people's concerns are, and it really gives me perspective. Because again, I'd say I'd add one more thing about the presidency. It's not about me. It's about the members. And so the more that I can hear everybody's stories, the more that I can hear what people's concerns are, the more I can do good for them. The other thing is that coming up, I'll be at the IDFPA Student and University Championship in May. And I will also be at Raw Nationals for the entire time. I believe I'm volunteering every single day, and I will be accessible. So if somebody wants to connect in person there, they sure can. Or come to my gym in Brooklyn. Come visit me in person and get a lift in, and we can talk shop.
Where's your gym? I don't know if you mentioned it or not.
I didn't, but it's I own the South Brooklyn Weightlifting Club in Brooklyn, New York. And that's the gym I started because of my love for powerlifting.
All right. Very good. Well, Paulie, appreciate you taking the time, and appreciate your service to USA Powerlifting, and good luck at the election in June.
Thank you. And I appreciate you too, man.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Goodbye, Josh.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.